I have family in North Korea, but I don't know their names. I don't know their faces. I don't know their language. I don't know where or when they were born, or how many are still alive. It's taken 26 years for me to be curious about their mere existence, not even their histories. And what sparked this curiosity? Battles in cyberspace? Nuclear threats? Testimonies of defection? Impending war? No. 2 syllables. Jong-un. One day I had a strange realization. My name shares 2 syllables with the North Korean dictators. My Korean name is Jong-un-ah. His name is Kim Jong-un. This random connection, silly and ridiculous as it seemed, disturbed me. Those 2 syllables felt incriminating, though I knew they meant nothing. He and I don't even share a family name, but I couldn't shake the feeling, and thus began my investigation into a forgotten history and a present reality. In April of 2006, my maternal grandfather traveled to Pyongyang. This journey was a homecoming. In 1948, he and his immediate family escaped from the north on foot. They traveled over mountain ranges, ran along the coast while the tide was low, slept in abandoned houses, woke up to falling bombs, and survived off of whatever they could find to eat. Eventually, they made it to the southernmost point of Korea and began a new life. Almost 15 years later, he'd immigrate to Los Angeles, his immediate family soon to follow. So my grandfather's trip to North Korea in 2006 was especially significant. He found a travel group that would connect him to his relatives, ones he hadn't seen in 58 years. In exchange for a few $1,000s accumulated by multiple family members, he was granted access to a highly scripted version of the Hermit Kingdom in a few minutes with his relatives.
여기가 양각도 국제 호텔, 평양에 있는 호텔입니다. 여기가 묘향산입니다.
When asking him about this experience 11 years later, I learned that these relatives have since passed away. Even footage of them, meticulously documented by my grandfather, has gone missing in his archives. There are few to no traces of them left, and this disconnection was further reinforced when I caught myself referring to them as my grandfather's relatives, not mine. So, why the disconnect? I grew up hearing stories of the starving North Koreans, eating tree bark, grass, and the soles of their shoes. These were people suffering under an oppressive regime, one ruled by a ruthless dictator who profited off the backs of his people. In the same breath, however, this was also a regime easily ridiculed, practically begging for mockery.
In North Korea, we know how to put on a show. This is not a show. No, you know have 1,000 baby playing guitar at the same time. You know have people holding up many cards to make one big picture. You know have Dennis Rodman, no basketball at all.
Right. Someone dropped the ball on Rodman. We'll get on that. We'll get right on.
The hyperbole of the government inspired parodies not only in Hollywood, but also within my family. One year for my dad's birthday, my brothers and I photoshopped a picture of his face onto a propaganda poster of Kim Il-sung. We laughed at the expense of the deified former president of North Korea turned birthday card, not knowing that, according to renowned travel guide writer Hilary Bratt, it's considered a grave offense to even crease a newspaper across any picture of the Kim family. My education did little to temper the disconnect or reconcile the disparate faces of North Korea portrayed by the media. Instead, I learned that there was a war in the 50s. Truman and MacArthur didn't see eye to eye. A line was drawn at the 38th parallel. My high school history teacher asked me how to pronounce Pyongyang. The United States suffered numerous casualties. people in DC created a memorial to commemorate the fallen. I went on a bike tour to see it and posted about it on Instagram. Then I forgot about it until the 2 syllables. As a result of that aleatory tie to North Korea, more tightly knotted by my family's history, complicated by the discourses of entertainment and school, I've since recognized the repercussions of my and my country's ignorance. I forgot not just a timeline of events, but also the people who bought me my freedom. I exist because they exist. But who are they, and how do they exist? Perhaps the only way to better understand the mysterious and choric character of North Korea is through testimony.
You've been to North Korea twice, correct?
Yeah.
You've reported from inside North Korea?
Yeah.
What is it like to be there?
Are you familiar with acid?
Well, yeah, a little.
It's like being on acid. It's a combination of going back in time to sort of Stalinist Russia or Maoist China, sort of cult of personality, utopian society, and just bull goose lunacy, like just sheer craziness.
So as someone who worked in the diplomatic field for the North Korean government through many years, what can you tell us about the mindset of Kim Jong-un?
Kim Jong-un is not a madman. He is an intelligent guy, but with a merciless mind. So the past 5 years of his rule in North Korea proved that he wants to destroy anything on his way, no matter whether it is a country or a human being. He has persecuted hundreds of senior leaders in North Korea in his 5 years term, including his family members like his uncle and his half-brother.
North Korea is a gulag posing as a nation. Everything there is about the great leader. Every book, every newspaper article, every song, every TV program, there is just one subject. The flowers are named after him. The mountains are carved with his slogans. Every citizen wears the badge of the great leader at all times. Even their calendar system begins with the birth of Kim Il-sung.
From these testimonies, a vague but nuanced picture of North Korea emerges. But what is still missing is its people. Are they robots, serving as pawns in the propaganda war? Are they still suffering from food shortages, as the UN's FAO reported in July 2017? Are these agricultural concerns compounded by economic distress as well, as suggested by Japanese journalist Hiro Ishimaru in August 2017? Are they starving and parasite-infested, as revealed by the body of a North Korean guard who defected to South Korea in November of 2017? Again, who are they, and how do they exist?
When I was young, I thought my country was the best on the planet. And I grew up singing a song called Nothing to Envy. And I was very proud. In school, we spent a lot of time studying the history of Kim Il-sung, but we never learned much about the outside world. Except that America, South Korea, Japan are the enemies.
Maybe Americans don't remember very well, but North Koreans have a memory of not too long ago when North Korea was absolutely flattened, literally, by American bombing. There was literally no targets left, and I really urge people who haven't done it to read the official American military histories.
I grew up in South Korea. To us, North Korea was always the enemy, even before I was born. South and North have been under armistice for 63 years since end of the Korean War. And grew up in South in the 80s and 90s, we were taught propaganda about North Korea.
It's very different than what the US media portrays it. there's propaganda going both ways. Of course, in North Korea, that's all they hear, just propaganda about how terrible America is, how bad the people are in South Korea. But it's sort of the same thing on this side. You know, the news, the media, they want to report sensational stories because they want to catch people's attention. But when I visited there, I found that, you know, these are people that are sort of stuck in time. Most of the citizens have no choice but to live the way they live. They don't have any idea of what's happening in the outside world, outside their country.
Being a Korean, seeing people who are who look like me, genetically the same, that's just, you share connections with things that you're similar to, either common interest or common appearance. So yeah, I felt a connection.
If my grandparents or their parents had been just a little bit north or south of the border, like depending by chance, like so many different factors would have determined that. I mean, I could have been in North Korea and I might not have existed if my parents hadn't met. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that my relationship to North Korea is, it could have been me, I guess.
Though it may be impossible to fully know who they are and how they exist, we do know how we respond. We've repaid them with promises of fire and fury, with insults, and as a result are prone to forget their sacrifice. When we look at them, we should see a reflection of ourselves, oblivious to the outside, governed by forces who lead with threats instead of dialogue. We can no longer feign ignorance. We've been implicated in this problem and we cannot look away. Even when we try, it will find us. It will find us in our very reflections.